everyone thinks he or she is the best football expert on the planet.
I'm just playing for pride now. And my prize gone.
We're very passionate people here.
Oh, well, hello.
We're ready to come for the W, yeah?
These girls will smoke you, man.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough, the show full of juicy gossip and the hottest takes. Joining me today is Matt Aldus and Jasmine Mannan. Hi guys, how you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Hiya, I am glad to be back. Yeah.
Good. Both you glad to be back. Glad to have you on the show. We've got a really good show for you today. We're going to talk about The Last of Us Episode 2. So if you haven't seen that, we'll give you a spoiler alert. Don't worry. We've got some stuff happening at Microsoft. What are they doing over there? Talk about what's happening with Halo. We talk about some of the Warzone 2 Season 2 changes that were announced and teased this week. Also, the day before has been delayed. You might not have heard of the game before, but you will have after we've talked about it. There's also Tilted Towers could return to Fortnite. That's exciting. And Nintendo is ramping up Switch production ahead of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We'll talk about that. And what's just breaking news, which I'm just learned about now, is that the GoldenEye 007 remake will be available on Xbox Game Pass and Switch this week, which is exciting for me, but not so exciting for you two, because when I talked about that just before the show, I got blank faces. So we might leave that one. So let's go through our first topic, which I can't wait to talk about this, guys, and I'm sure you two can't either. The Last of Us Episode 2 aired on Sunday evening, Monday in the UK for everyone else. Jasmine, you hadn't seen episode 1 or 2 before yesterday, I believe, and I'll set you some homework to watch them in preparation for this live stream. I'll come to you first. What's your thoughts, first of all, on the series as a whole, but also episode 2 more specifically?
So obviously I watched both of the episodes back to back. So I'm sorry if I kind of like merge something that happened in episode 1 into something that actually happened in episode 2 and vice versa. But honestly, like I said, I'm a really big Walking Dead fan, so I know a lot of people like kind of hate on that franchise. It's gotten a bit overdone. It's like so many seasons long now, and it's gotten a bit like people are just bored of it, but I still really like it. So I was kind of like, okay, going into The Last of Us, I was kind of expecting The Walking Dead, but not as good, something along those lines. I haven't played the game, so I didn't have any sort of like big expectations going in, and I am generally quite starstruck with like good TV anyway. Like I very rarely like watch a movie or show and go, oh yeah, that was bad, like I didn't like that, unless it was like generally really terrible. But The Last of Us was actually so good, and I have no idea what's going to happen, no idea what's coming, and I think that's what has actually made it better for me, because I haven't played the game. It's kind of just like watching a really good TV show. Like a lot of things that happen.
Can you recognize the bits that are from the game? Like I can easily tell when you're in a cutscene.
Yeah. I said that while I was watching it, because I watched it with my partner, and you could tell there's certain bits where it's literally like, yep, that's definitely a cutscene from a game. Like the way that they pan the camera, the way that the layout of the scene looks when it's like someone standing there with this majestic thing going on in the background or something. It's so evidently from the game, but it's still so cool. And I think that is the thing, though, is like you're going to expect stuff like that to happen in an adaptation of a video game. Like you're going to expect those cutscene bits. So I feel like it does sort of like feel a little bit out of place when that stuff happens, but it's still nice enough to look at visually that it's not like bothering me yet. I'm going to say yet, because I don't know how much more they're going to do it. Like it might suddenly increase and they'll do like 20 of those every single episode, and then it will get really annoying. But for now, it's like just the right amount that I can excuse it. But just what happened in episode 2, I don't know how much we're gonna like give away, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't watched it yet. It genuinely, like, I had no idea the whole time. I was kind of like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Oh my god, what's gonna happen? I was like literally clenching my fist so hard because I was like really scared at some points. I am a very jumpy person normally, so whenever they do those like bits where it's sort of like you can tell there's a jump scare coming, I know it's coming, I still don't know what to do. I still feel like just crying. But it's so good. I feel like it's so well done, and I don't have any negative comments on it, but I know you guys have some issues with it, however big or small. So I will pass on to you guys, so you guys can get all of the hate from the fans. I'm not making myself a target.
Before I pass over to Matt, I just want to echo your thoughts. I think it's an outstanding program with outstanding cast. The acting is amazing. The content is obviously amazing because the video game itself is amazing. From an entertainment perspective, I really enjoyed the episode 2, and I was scared and quite frightened throughout. Obviously, even though I knew what was coming, even though I knew it was the museum episode, the museum kind of level of the game, so I kind of knew what was coming, and I was still hooked. I still was really enjoying the TV show. So from an entertainment perspective, definitely 100% worth watching. And anyone who hasn't seen it, please go out and watch it. But I do have a few issues with it that aren't controversial, that someone maybe playing the game would have had watching that. They're not issues, but it's just a bit different. So I'll explain that a little bit more, and a bit later on. I'll hand over to Matt first of all for his hot take. What did you think of episode 2, Matt?
First of all, I thought it was amazing. So I do want to caveat the whole thing with that, and also the one thing is a question, which I don't know if we'll get answered on this podcast. The second thing is just such a small, silly little error that was just unnecessary, and it really annoyed me at the time because it was perfect up until that point. I couldn't have said one thing wrong. But the first things the things that I liked about it is similar to Jasmine, because I haven't played the game. What I found was I didn't know what was going to happen to Tess. I had no idea.
Spoiler alert! If anyone hasn't seen it,
yeah. I haven't said what happens, but
okay.
But
we are going to spoil it though, so
we are going to spoil it.
Yeah,
that's the point. But yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen to Tess, so that whole scene towards the end of the episode was like so much more elevated for me from what I imagined, because like a game fan is going to be watching it to see how they did it compared to the game, and me and Jasmine are watching it as a TV show. But what it does is it makes me want to go back after I've seen that episode. It makes me want to go back and play through the game as those characters in that part of the series, and then stop and then wait for the next episode and then just play that next section. But and there's going to be spoilers. So they go into the museum, and I'm going to try not to say lots of things that happen because it's not fair. But they go into the museum, and all of the stuff happens inside of the museum, and then they get out at the top of the museum, and Tess has twisted her ankle, and Joel gets out some tape and tapes up her ankle. Now, Joel uses electrical tape. So why was the sound duct tape?
Oh my god, that's your comment. That's your issue with it.
Yeah, because it's
your
so silly.
Your issue is that the sound effect is wrong.
It's so silly.
Of
the sound effect is wrong.
So thing.
So it doesn't add up. It is not realistic. So it takes me out.
It might
of the
have been mini
of the
duct
episode.
tape. It might have been
No,
mini
it wasn't.
duct tape.
It was electrical tape. It was black electrical tape.
Yeah, I know, but
see.
you can get black mini
I
duct
could see
tape.
it.
You can. Maybe that's what made that sound.
It
Maybe
wasn't
so your
that.
issue was
That's
that it was the
wasn't-
rip
it was clearly.
It was the rip of a normal
Yeah,
tape.
and when
like
they were like pulling it, it was making duct tape sound, and it was electrical tape. That they
I
were
have to
taping her
say,
ankle up.
well done for noticing that, because that is such a small detail.
Hey.
I'm impressed with that.
That's what ADHD does for you. But that was the thing that, like, I just wish that sound effect just was the right one. But the problem is, if you use electrical tape, it doesn't make any noise.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't make a
there's
sound.
there's no
Right.
addition to the. So I know why they use duct tape sound, but just like use a different tape that does make a sound. Like, you know.
Maybe it's that in the show it's not realistic for them to have their hands on duct tape. I don't know. That's the only thing I think of.
Yeah.
What I think is they were using electrical tape because it's like it's more of a tape you would use to wrap an ankle.
Yeah.
But and they're not going to have sports tape, are they? Like
Yeah.
in that
yeah.
situation. But because it doesn't add any element to the scene, they chose to go with a tape sound so that it would give some sort of like, it would give an extra layer to the scene of like she's taping up her ankle. But that just annoyed me. Like things like that do annoy me in films. So, you know, apologies to everybody that is currently going, what is this guy on about?
This is what you get with the walkthrough every week. We
But this is-
dive
I've
into the
always-
topics.
I've always got something to say. The other thing was just a question. It was a general wondering, and there's probably a very, very real answer to it. But why are there birds and animals about?
I had the
that aren't
exact same
infected?
question. I had the exact same question.
Like, why aren't the birds infected? Like, that's what I can't work out.
Isn't it harder for a human to bite a bird and then the bird to bite other birds? Isn't it a bit harder to do that?
But it's not.
I don't have a clear
Because
answer.
if it's infecting, sort of like what it looked like is that the actual tendrils had spread and sort of like infected like plant matter and stuff, which is how it like notified the other
Yeah.
infected people. So I just assumed that a bird would eat like a bit of vine or
Exactly,
something
yeah.
on the floor and get infected, or other animals would do that. I was really confused how none of the animals were infected.
I don't.
Yeah.
I feel like you're both looking at me. The way our stream is set, you're both looking
Why aren't the
towards
birds
me.
infected, Nathan?
I don't know. But yeah, that's a good question. We'll have to find
So
out.
I don't know if anyone like, you know,
Yeah,
watching
please.
or like knows,
Yeah.
because there's probably given the time they've put into the thought process behind the science of it, there's probably got to be some sort of rationale.
Maybe it will be answered
yeah,
later on
maybe.
in the show.
maybe.
Yeah, but if
Maybe
you've
it's on
got any
purpose.
interesting theories or you know for definite, please drop some comments, please, and let us know. For Matt's sake,
Please,
just to fill that void. We've got Skyrifter saying hello, hiya, and Shell as well says hello. Hi guys, thank you for tuning in. So I have a few thoughts, and I want you guys to bear with me because I'm going to go into the video game adaptation source material discussion that we're all going to love for the next couple of minutes. So I want to talk about there's a snowball effect in this episode that all comes from the decision to not have spores in the game. And I hope this makes sense. If you've got any questions and walking through it, please let me know, because I'm going to try and explain it as clearly as possible, because there was a definite snowball effect with this episode. Now, as we covered in last week's episode, they decided to get rid of spores as the way that the infected infect other people, which is through gas that was released, in favour of tendrils, which are the crawling little fungus, and there's a network and all that kind of stuff. Just to clarify, tendrils and the way that Tess describes the infected as having a network between them and feeling and all that kind of stuff, that is not in the game. That is a completely new thing for the TV series. Very cool. I enjoyed it a lot. Really cool concept. But there's a snowball effect you get with this, which I'm going to go through now. So the snowball effect is that, I'm going to try not to spoil, what happens, but there is a few spoilers. So in the game, the way Joel finds out and kind of has that moment of knowing that Ellie can't get infected is that they're going through an area filled with spores, and Joel's got a mask on, and Ellie walks through with no mask and she doesn't get infected, and that's the point that he believes that she can't get infected. That's when he goes, okay, she can't get infected. The way they had to do it in this episode was for Ellie to get bitten again, which felt a bit pointless to me, because it was just like, oh, I've been bitten again, and made a big point out of it and stuff, right? But then that had another snowball effect, and I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but this leads to the test scene, which I was a bit disappointed in, because in the game, what happens to Tess isn't to do with the infected. It's to do with soldiers coming up into that building. So what happens in the TV show is that she gets bitten, just like in the game, and is revealed, and Ellie says, oh, she's infected, and Joel's shocked, and all that kind of stuff, and they say their goodbyes. But in the game, Tess's demise is heroic. She says, "I'm not turned into one of them." You know, she doesn't want to turn. She's really brave and she's a powerful, strong character. And it's someone to look up to, like that heroicness that comes through in the video game. And that's because the soldiers are all over the building and they're going in. Obviously, she doesn't stand a chance, but she puts up a fight so that Joel and Ellie can escape. In the video game, what happens is because the tendrils exist, one of the infected just walks up to her, kisses her, and she just kind of... I mean, she can't help it because she's an infected at that point and she's communicating with the rest of the tendrils, and I get why they put that in the game, but it felt really meek. Her demise felt really, compared to the game. You two might not agree because it might have felt heroic in that moment, but compared to the game, the way that I felt Tess was done a bit dirty, and I hope that explains a bit why it differs to the game, because
I didn't think her death was... I think this is probably why, because I haven't played the game. It didn't feel like her death was meant to be heroic to me. It kind of felt like she was scared to die. She hadn't accepted it. She didn't want to die. She just had no other choice, so she had to die. And she thought in that moment, if I'm going to die anyway, what can I do? And I think that's how it was portrayed in the TV show, is that... And I think it did it well, that's what it portrayed. But if obviously that's different to the game, then it's different to the game. That's not what her death was meant to represent. But in the show, it was kind of like that moment where she's trying to flick the light over and over and over and over, and it's obviously meant to build that suspense for a viewer to be like, is she going to be able to do it? Oh my god, what if she can't do it? It is meant to build that level of like suspense and stuff, but you can tell that when she's doing that and when she kind of like hesitates and you're kind of like in that moment where she's being kissed, you're like, oh, is she completely infected now? Is that it then? But she still manages to power through, which does have a very minimal heroic sense to it, but it doesn't feel like it's a big heroic act the way that you're describing, like it is in the game. It feels like she was scared to die and she didn't know what to do, so she kind of just did what she was forced to do, in a sense. It was very different to how you're describing it.
In the video game, there was no fear. It was just defiance. Like, I'm not going to turn into one of them. It was, I'm going to fight these soldiers off as long as possible. You get out of here before I turn infected. Like, I'm not scared. I'm gonna help you out.
I don't agree.
It was just different. It was just different.
Because
what do you think?
I don't agree that it wasn't brave. Like, I think there is this Hollywood idea that fear, like, is not a part of being brave. And fear is the number one contributor to being brave. Bravery is just ignoring the fear and moving past the fear and not letting the fear just like dictate what you do in that moment. So to me, and also like I take issue with calling it a kiss. It was literally...
Yeah, I didn't think it was a kiss. I just called it a kiss because Nathan called it a kiss.
but it was literally the tendrils and the fungi coming out,
connecting
his mouth and going into Tess's body through the most obvious orifice in the body. Like, such a horrible word, but it's, that's what it is. But for me, like, she knew what she was going to do, because why if she didn't know what she was going to do, and hadn't made that snap decision in her head, I'm staying here, I'm giving my life up, and so that they can get away, because she's realised it's really important that Ellie gets to where she needs to go. Then she starts knocking over all the gas canisters, and sorry for all the spoilers, but like, I feel it's necessary at this juncture. She starts knocking them all over and filling the whole place with petrol, and then knows what she's going to do. When they come through, and she's trying to hit the lighter, that's the moment for the audience where, like, oh, it adds that suspense of like, will she, won't she, will she be able to, won't she? Like, for me, seeing fear in someone's eyes, or seeing fear in the moment and still breaking through to do the thing that they have already decided they're going to do, and not letting the fear dictate what happens to them or drive what happens to them or motivate them in any way is the ultimate pinnacle of what bravery is. So for me, I don't agree with any of that. I agree, obviously it's different to the game. I actually think it was more necessary because they've changed the science, more necessary to highlight the network and highlight how dangerous it is. And because a big part of the whole, like, if there's no spores, it's like, well, how do you add that element of they've got to be really careful? Is it just being quiet? That's not good enough. But now they've got this thing where, like, they need to highlight that the tendrils are all connected, and it's like it's a big network, and as soon as one gets wind of what's going on, everybody knows and they all come. Like, that was a really important moment, and I think swapping that scene out to display that in, like, for moving forwards in the series was kind of necessary. Whereas having just, you know, the army come in and they have a big fight or whatever is just doesn't feel necessary in the series. I'm not saying in the game, I'm saying in the series. So I kind of think that they still did a very good job of highlighting Tess as being this brave, strong character. I still think that she was very brave, and I still think that she had made that decision. She may not have been, like, you know, shouting around going like, I'm not going down without a fight and all that, but do you need that? Like, that's such a Hollywood thing. This is supposed to be based in more of a realistic setting, and the characters have to feel slightly more real and not video game characters. So there does have to be some sort of negotiation and some sort of, like, you know, compromise on that. And I think out of every compromise that you would have made, that was probably the right one to have made, because it served the moving of the story forwards. It served a purpose. It wasn't just there to copy the game.
Yeah. I do think that if they'd have done that the scene that was in the TV series in the game, it wouldn't have had the same impact as it would have had in the TV series. So I agree with what you said. I think it was wonderfully done, and it definitely made me feel emotional, and it was a really hard hitting moment. I think my point was just explaining the kind of snowballing element, that they had to do something to you know, that scene with Tess, because they didn't have the spores in there, so they had to kind of change things around. But yeah, it's just interested to hear both your takes. I still really enjoyed it, and yeah, I do completely get your point, Matt, about the whole bravery thing and how we shouldn't judge bravery by certain things. So that's a really interesting point. It just,
I think
that's where it just really differed from
the idea of
sorry, go on.
Sorry, it harps back to the idea of like a game, someone who's played the game watching it versus someone who hasn't. Like, yeah. I'm seeing it as a TV series, and I think that was a very well written scene in a TV series. You're seeing it as it wasn't the same as the game, and the game portrayed something different for you than that scene portrayed, which is fair. They're both fair things. So I think, like, on the whole, like, if you were to go, yeah, all right, but if you were to split that audience down the middle and say, like, here you've got all the gamers that have played the game, and here you've got all the people that are watching it as a TV series, it's like, we've had a lot of nods and clear sort of homages to the game, and we're only 2 episodes in. Like, I think you guys can do without that scene. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for the sake of the TV series moving forwards. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I sort of picture it.
Yeah, I think it's just important to just point out how it was different, and it just wasn't, you know. I suppose, yeah, the point you make about, you know, having not played the game or seen playing the game, for me, it was really interesting to see how they did it, and it still hit very hard. It was just different to how I experienced it and how I thought the story would go, not how it should go, because obviously they've got creative control over it and they can decide what to do with it, and they were put in that position by the decision to remove spores. But look, I still really enjoyed it, but it was just different. different for me at that point. The first real kind of diversion from the show, I think, that we've seen, which is the point you've made, but still loved it. It's still epic as a show.
I'm really looking forward to seeing, like you're saying, how it's a snowball effect. This is just the first bit that we've seen, which is quite different. I'm looking forward to seeing how that advances, because it obviously seems like this network of tendrils is going to be a really big point within the show. So I want to see sort of how else they deviate from the original game sort of story. And if that really does end up annoying a lot of the big gaming fans, I kind of want to see the community, not crawl.
Yeah. No, but I think that network, what they added in, that again isn't in the game, the fact that if they step on an infected or, a tendril that's alive, then the rest of them within the area feel it and they're all connected. That adds something rather than detracts. I think that's a really interesting element. And that opens up a whole lot. Like, we could spend hours like theories about what could happen, maybe on a specific Last of Us podcast or live show, but I think there's so many things they could do with that that's really interesting, that actually elevates the video game for the show. I think that's a really interesting addition. And they had to do something.
It just helps understand how easily it can spread, because I think that was the fear people had, was because the spores aren't in the game, and like that's the main way it spreads. It's like, well, how do you get around it being as sort of contagious? And in that scene, for me, that was when you really saw that how careful you had to be, because as if you shoot someone and then they get, they fall, or you got a bunch of people that have died, and like it's like fresh sort of new, what would you call it, like fresh meat, I guess. Then that really just like goes to show that you have to be so careful in so many different areas, and I think the show needs to keep that sort of danger to make it viable. And they really have to prove like the idea that tendrils and the network of cordyceps or whatever it's called is dangerous enough as is. And so for me, like, I had no issues there. But again, I haven't played the game, and it would be interesting to play that scene through and sort of see which one I prefer. Because I haven't got that comparison to draw. Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I already found the environment scary enough. Like, even before all of that sort of like network stuff came into it, I already found it so scary. And I think it's because obviously my expectation of like zombies, I know that they're not called zombies, but like reanimated dead, is like from The Walking Dead, where they're all like really slow and they just groan and they don't really like have much intelligence or anything. So then like when they started sprinting, I was petrified. I couldn't handle it. I was like, I had to like, I felt
jumping.
like crying.
They were jumping and all sorts of
they were like, and they were like, you could tell they had intelligence. They were stopping and they're waiting, like when the clickers were stopping and waiting and listening. And I was kind of like, oh, this is so different to the way that they have to act in The Walking Dead, where they have to kind of like, they just be quiet and they're fine. And if one hears them, they just run and they're fine. Yeah. But in this one, it's like.
But how much more of an edge does it give that, like, if they just put 1 foot wrong and accidentally stand on the wrong bit of floor or
yeah, but it's too scary now. It's like, too scary for me.
that like they're all coming for you. Like if you 1 foot wrong, they're all coming for you. And
you could hear the ground in that scene where Tess is like waiting. You could hear the ground like shaking from how many of them are sprinting over. It's how quick they are. Is what really like freaks me out. Yeah, is that. She was literally like, we don't have much time left. They literally had like 60 seconds before they had to go. And I can't like, it's just, they're too fast. They're too scary. I don't know. Like I can't handle it. And I'm so scared to watch more. I'm a very jumpy person.
I think if they were all walking around and just like not very intelligent, I would have switched off to that, because it feels like that's just too easy to avoid.
It's a trope, isn't it? It's a trope.
Yeah, it's such a trope. Like, that they need to. I mean,
I think that's why I
obviously the
expected it, because
game's
it's the
different.
standard trope of zombies.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, yeah, that's what they're going to be like. And then I saw the clickers like sprinting and jumping over tables and stuff. And when they hear a noise and they turn their head in the direction, even though they can't see, like instinctively, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't do this. I'd literally I would just phase out of the planet if that was me.
What did you two think of the sound of the clickers, the actual clicking itself? Because in the game, when you first hear that sound, and by the way, it's the same people voicing the clickers in the TV series as it is in the game, so I immediately recognised that sound. What was that as scary as it was for me in the TV series? Like, the eeriness of it.
I imagine, for me personally, I imagine it would be scarier if you played the game first, because you've got that moment of like being in the dark in the game, like going around trying to like sneak about, and then you hear like that clicking sound, and at first you're like, what is that? Like, I can imagine in the game being like, what is that? Oh my God, I'm so scared. Like, because you don't know what's going to come out from the darkness. But watching it as a TV series, for me personally, I like the sound is great. Like, I it's perfect. It fits like what they're portraying and what they're trying to achieve. But it was just like to me, like watching it as a TV series, it was just like a sort of a sound that I've heard lots of. I've heard lots of like sort of I've watched like films with aliens in and stuff, and it feels like just very similar to.
Yeah, I was gonna say it just sounded kind of like a sci-fi noise. Like it wasn't. It didn't really like spark any fear in me or anything. But it's just after you knew what it was obviously scary. But the initial when you first heard it, I didn't have that like. I wanted to know what it was, but I didn't have that like, oh my God, like it's coming moment.
Oh, that's interesting. I've got a note from producer Will, Matt, for you. Hi Will, in the background. Thanks for all you're doing for us.
Out.
Shout out to Will. On animals not being infected, the whole opening is, to quote, it can infect small invertebrates. If the planet was warm enough, it might be able to infect humans, but it's not a given. That it can now infect all other 99.999% of species like rodents or birds. So it's a very like, just because it can infect humans doesn't necessarily mean it can also infect other animals. Like, we're not, the ascendant species, if you like. That if something can infect us, then that means every other animal on the planet can get us. It's very kind of human specific. I think is what Will's trying to say. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, yeah. Okay. I would still argue it a little bit, because you would assume that a fungus that is now able to survive in warmer temperatures would be able to infect other warm-blooded animals.
That's a very human-centric opinion, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like I'm being like discriminatory.
Don't worry, I agree with you. I agree with you, Matt.
Stuff.
If that makes me human-centric, that's fine.
Yeah, let's move on then. We've also got a comment from Zek Power Z. Thanks for being in the show. It helped show how the fungus was embracing her sort of and letting her into the pack. Yeah, I thought that was like an interesting moment where it turned and walked slowly towards her. I thought that was really interesting, kind of that welcoming.
Like it could tell she was infected. It could tell she was already infected.
Yeah, which opens up things to the fact that Ellie tests negative on that test, even though she's not infected. So is there something there where infected can sense her? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But that's just an interesting theory anyway. But yeah, I also want to ask you about the scenes in Indonesia at the start. And with the lady who I can't think of her job title, but when she said the B word on the couch with the cup of tea.
Yeah, as soon as she said that, the first thing my partner said to me was literally like, I'm glad it's the same language, it's like in English, because it's like so dramatic.
The delivery of that was just...
Yeah. That honestly, like, it's what you expected her to say, but still when she said it, it was like, I can't believe she said that.
It was like she couldn't believe she was saying it. Like that was why it was so heavy, I think.
Yeah. And when she
that it was her only that's the only option. It's like, you've got to just everybody, man, just everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was-
and she just wants to go spend time with her family, and she was like crying. I was just thinking,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's
She's
it.
saying it
She
knowing
knows.
full well
She
that like
knows.
she's included in that. Like, and
Yeah.
it's like, but that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, it's the desperation at that point, isn't it? You
Yeah.
can hear that she's kind
Yeah.
of just, it's gonna happen, which was kind of scary for me. It kind of added to, again, that wasn't in the game, similar to the first similar to the first scene in episode 1. But I just feel it added just that's something extra to the series. But it'd be really interesting where they go with episode 3, and can't wait to talk about it on the show next week. So thanks, guys. If you've got any thoughts on the show, please let us know. If you have any interesting theories or anything, please let us know, and we'll read out the best ones on the show. But let's talk about our next topic. And there's been a bit going on at Microsoft this week. Microsoft announced last week that it would be laying off over 10,000 staff, with some of them coming from its Xbox and video games divisions, including many at the Halo Infinite developer 343. There was a couple of different things going on where people were talking about will 343 still play a role in the development of the Halo franchise? Will it be the only one to work on the IP? There was reports that it would only work on an advisory role on the IP, and it would be like taken off to a different developer potentially to lead the franchise. Because let's be honest, Halo Infinite hasn't been as popular as many people are thinking. The launch has been quite rocky anyway. But it has been confirmed that Halo Master Chief are here to stay. 343 Industries will continue to develop Halo now and in the future, including epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. For me, I'm really sad about Halo because when I was younger, Halo multiplayer was the top multiplayer game. In terms of the Forge mode, being able to create your own maps, playing on multiplayer with your friends, and the whole shield mechanic system, and the different very unique space age weapons, and it was just an awesome game. And with Halo Infinite, there's so much riding on it with multiplayer. And would there be a battle royale? Obviously, there's not. There's just normal multiplayer. So I think a few people are disappointed in that. And co-op campaign didn't come until very late, which is why most people wait and play the co-op campaign with people. I think the discussion question for us really is that where is Halo right now? And because I know I doubt you two have played it from what we talked about before. What can it do to generate that interest in the game at this point?
I've played Halo Infinite. By the way, hello Dave on TikTok.
Hi Dave.
Someone I know has just come into the TikTok. I need to address him, otherwise I don't want him to feel left out. But yeah, I've played Halo Infinite and I enjoyed it like the first time I played it, and then it got stale real fast because they weren't really adding any like new modes or content fast enough. So it just became like one of those things that you just sort of end up playing something else. And I feel like Halo Infinite was their chance to get it right and just potentially dominate that sort of market, but it just felt so like it was missing so much. And all the Halo fans, it felt like they really wanted to love it, and there were parts about it that were really, really good. But it just didn't have, just didn't have like the spark that I was expecting it to have. And
Halo is Microsoft and Xbox's dominant IP. It is their flagship. It should be the one that kind of leads everything they do. Like this is supposed to be the most popular game that they create, and it seems like at the moment everyone's waiting for Starfield to come out because they're seeing that as almost the dominant IP at this stage because of how poorly Halo Infinite's been received. It just seems like a real shame.
Halo's had its day now.
Master
That's
Chief
what I
should
was
hang
gonna
up his
say.
helmet.
I think that I didn't play Halo Infinite because I didn't ever play any of the original Halo games, and I feel like that's what a lot of people played it for, was for like the nostalgia of like the Halo mechanics and stuff, like shields and everything that people really liked that you don't find in other games. but I never played the original Halo games, so I didn't feel the need to play Halo Infinite, and because it wasn't like massively popular, there was no need for me to ever play it when I could just play something else, like Matt said. Like, if it was really popular and everyone was playing it, even though I didn't play Halo, I would have given it a go, but I didn't ever feel that need. So it's kind of just like...
I feel like there's certain games in the gaming world that need to be, like... Don't do them into the ground, because, like, they need to stay iconic. And Halo's one of those games franchises that is iconic. And, you know, the Master Chief helmet, the... even, like, you know... Even... I've not played... I actually started playing the first Halo. A little
Didn't
while
I get
ago.
you to buy the Master Chief collection?
Yeah,
at one point?
I did, but I didn't get very far through it. I just sort of lost interest. But it's like such a moment in that point of in time that you almost like, if they keep going with it, they've either got to really pull it out the bag or just leave it alone. Now you need to leave it as an iconic series. Don't tarnish its name more than Halo Infinite is kind of done a little bit to it. Obviously there's, you know, you go through the Halo series and there's games people like more than others, but generally speaking, I feel like Halo Infinite was its chance to reignite the game. It didn't work. Move on. Like that's kind of not to be nasty, but to keep to preserve the
magic.
How good the magic of that franchise. Yeah. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where the newer people that have heard of Halo, like the younger generations that have heard of Halo, have only ever experienced the bad games, and all the old games, like the graphics aren't good enough, or like the mechanics aren't good enough, or something like that, you know, because they suffer from age in that respect. And for older gamers, that's not a problem, but for younger gamers, that I imagine that there's a desire for like the next sort of innovation in graphics and mechanics and that sort of thing. And I just feel like Skyrifter just said Master Chief isn't that the guy from Fortnite? Exactly. Like it's kind of
that's where a
like
lot of people remember the characters from now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, because even though I didn't play Halo, obviously I know it's an iconic franchise. I know, you know, all of the iconic bits and pieces from it. But now kids are going to be like, oh my god, yeah, it's that guy from Fortnite. Oh my god, it's from Halo Infinite, that really crap game that no one ever played.
Yeah. But don't you think if they just turned around and said, okay, we're going to add a battle royale,
it's got
that's what we spoke about,
wouldn't
right?
that just
I thought
attract
that'd
a
be
whole
cool.
new set of fans?
Yeah.
Exactly. Would you play it if they just
I
launched a
definitely
battle
would.
royale?
I would, yeah.
There you go.
If it had
give it a
those
go,
Halo
yeah.
mechanics,
Yeah.
I would play it. As long as it, I don't know, I say that, but then I didn't really play Apex, so I'm not sure. I know Apex didn't have Halo mechanics, but that was a really big battle royale that I didn't touch.
The Halo Infinite mechanics, I think, are really strong.
they are, yeah.
They're really, it's really fun to play, but I don't know. I just feel like it's such an easy win. I know it's a difficult
battle royales
thing to do.
are what, like, I feel like battle royales are sort of the big MMO right now.
Yeah.
For the past sort of few years. So why would you not like go align yourself with that trend?
Yeah.
And I don't know why they didn't, because that could have been sick.
I know it's not easy to do. I'm not saying it's easy. Like they can just
Yeah.
like, you know, launch a battle
Bang
royale
out
overnight.
a battle royale.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's easy, but it just feels like, you know, maybe they're thinking about tradition. Maybe they're thinking about, Skyrift, hardcore Halo fan base is screaming. That's the thing. Sometimes you need to do something a little bit different to attract a new generation of fans and players, and that means taking risks. It's in the state it is right now. It cannot literally get any worse. Just launch a battle royale, see what happens.
but that's the thing, is that fans think that is what's going to tarnish the like reputation of Halo. It's like, oh my god,
It's
yeah,
already
it's just another
tarnished.
battle royale.
It's already tarnished.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of fans don't see it like that. They're going to be like, it's when you get to that sellout point, because that's the phrase everyone uses. It's like, oh yeah, don't sell out. You can't sell out. But like, if Halo
Well,
was
it's
to
not-
make
it
a
doesn't
battle
have to
royale,
s-
that's what people would be like. They'd be like, yeah, they're selling out. You're just committing to like the what's popular and what's trendy. But
I
that's
don't think like I think people misunderstand or not
Yeah,
misunderstand,
yeah,
misuse
definitely.
the term selling
Yeah.
out. Like selling out is just literally if they just selling out is putting Master Chief in Fortnite. That's selling out.
Yeah.
Selling out is not
That's
making
true.
your game
Yeah.
better and more successful. Like selling out is not putting time, effort, and money into a game, making it better. Selling out is making is literally just trying to make money off the back of a name. That's selling out. But people think that somehow a battle royale is gonna hurt the game. It's not gonna hurt it.
It's because
'Cause no
battle
battle
royales
royale
are
is
seen
not
as like
helping it.
childish. That's why it's seen as like, because of Fortnite, I feel like a lot of people see battle royales as catered to little kids. So then they think, oh, you're catering to little kids, you're selling
it's just
out.
the setup of a game mode. It's not like not
Yeah.
even like the game itself. Like Fortnite is different to Warzone and
PUBG and
PUBG is
Yep.
different to Warzone and Fortnite, and like it just I just don't understand what the issue is with putting a battle royale in and seeing how it does, because you'll have people from titles that are all like kind of people getting tired of, not to name any names, but Warzone 2, and they may go and try it, and I feel like if before long they're just I feel like they've already missed a chance. They should have launched Infinite with a battle royale. That would have been their biggest win, I think.
But I think just going back off, the discussion we had last week about games not being finished. Halo Infinite launched without a Forge mode. It launched without co-op campaign. Those are the two modes that players most want to play, and it launched without them. Why?
Why?
Just delay it a
who's
bit.
making those decisions?
So if you talk about selling out, people talk about like developers that they love and publishers that they love of games, like as these kind of like beautiful community things that are there just to make them happy, and it's all like sunshines and rainbows. Their only purpose in life is to make money off you. They're there to make money, literally. So they're already selling out by launching a game that's not finished, which is what I don't think people realise.
To get some money in to please the shareholders. If that's not selling out, then I don't know what is.
Exactly.
Dave on TikTok says if a Halo Battle Royale was released last year, it would have blown up massively.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it definitely would have had potential to blow up massively.
With Caldera as it was.
It would have been before Warzone 2 was coming out. People were getting tired of Warzone. They were looking for another game.
It was also when Fortnite. It was before Fortnite brought in no build mode, which people were fed up of Fortnite because of all the building and stuff. So they had to bring out no build mode. So it would have like bridged that hole in the market. It would have given them a chance to get in on that, and then they just didn't.
Yeah. And you don't want to speculate, I suppose, but obviously Microsoft's laying over 10,000 people off because of obviously economic conditions, but also probably because Halo Infinite didn't perform as well. You just hope that decision not to release a battle royale wasn't made by the top execs there. Maybe it was made by people who are actually trying to make the game better, but it does feel like maybe it was made with a decision.
I think the scary thing with it is that if they're laying off that many people, and a lot of them are in the video game development and from 343 Industries as well, it doesn't give anyone any confidence that anything new and innovative is going to happen with Halo, because you're not going to do better with less people working on it. Just unless they're planning on bringing a whole new team in, I just don't see it. I feel like at the moment Microsoft is just scared to admit that Halo is done.
Yeah.
Well, the former senior multiplayer designer at Halo, Patrick Wren, tweeted out, the layoffs at 343 shouldn't have happened, and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. But the reason for both of those things is incompetent leadership up top during Halo Infinite development, causing massive stress on those working hard to make Halo the best it can be. So I think he is very vocally claiming that
Was he the
it's not
former,
his fault.
did you say?
Former,
Or-
yeah, the former senior multiplayer designer at Halo. So he is straight away pinning the blame on those top executives, like you were saying, and just pointing out and making it clear that, you know, it's not the Halo team's fault necessarily. It's those higher up execs
Yeah.
who probably don't know as much about the gaming space and stuff. They kind of just make the big decisions without much knowledge, and then it ends up sort of causing
They just
this
wanted
trickle-down
to. They
effect.
wanted. They're like, but how do we get the game out on this date? How
Yeah.
do we get the game out
Yeah.
on this date? And well, we would have to launch without no co-op mode. Cool, do it.
Yeah.
Like that's basically how that's happened. I mean, it happens in all sorts of companies, like things like that. But often the developers aren't the ones that are, you know, the people actually working on the game, that love the game, that spend their life on the game. They're not normally the ones that are gonna easily mess the game up so badly, and so, like, you know, almost like, because all of these mistakes are made and they feel so obvious to everybody that this failed because of this. But to somebody trying to run the company and just get the game out on a certain date, they don't really look at any of that. They just look at the spreadsheet of the timeline and go, well, you know, people would have much rather of the Halo be delayed and launched with a co-op mode and multiplayer mode and all that stuff than they would have got what they did get. So I think it all happens all too often. I think it's an unfortunate part of the way where gaming's gone, and there's more major studios and there's more AAA studios. It just feels like those sorts of decisions are being made more and more frequently, and it's kind of a shame. I don't think like, you know, having more big studios is bad for gaming, but it does split the community, or it splits the catalogs of what you can play into, you know, Hollywood and then indie film. Like, there's that sort of, like, we're getting that separation now.
Yeah. I mean, we'll go on to a different topic in a minute, but I think what's really interesting to me of the last couple of months and year or so is that there's more money and interest in games now than there ever has been. If you look at The Last of Us as a TV series, if you look at the popularity of some of the games that have been released, but there's more money in games and there's more interest, but it seems like there's less coming out, less good stuff actually coming out of the video games industry at the moment. If you look at like Warzone 2, if you look at Halo Infinite, look at
But
some
I
of
think that's
the
got a
stuff
cause and
happening.
effect relationship.
Yeah.
I
So
think
maybe
the
they're
fact
trying to
that there's
milk the
more
cow a
money-
little bit too much, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think because there's
Definitely.
more money in the industry, a lot of these massive developers who have come out with like superstar games in the past, like Activision, like Xbox, they think, you know what, we've done it so well before, let's just chuck whatever out and fans will eat it up because the industry's
Yeah.
gotten so massive.
Maybe it's
That's-
complacency. Yeah.
That's not the case at all. Like, you're getting
Yeah.
way too cocky, and you can't. People aren't just going to let that sort of stuff slide. Like,
Yeah.
I think they thought they'd release Halo Infinite and people would, because it's Halo, people would still buy it. They had a lot of confidence in that, like, in that name, and yeah, people bought it. People were insanely disappointed with it, and then a lot of people refunded it or never touched it again, or, you know, whatever the case ended up being. And I don't know why it keeps happening with so many different.
I think it's
different
because
games.
when you've got a big studio, they've got CEOs and they've got, you know, CFOs, and they've got all this stuff, and what you end up with is rather than that person loving gaming, it's somebody who's a good CEO, who's got a track record of being a good CEO at other companies, so they get brought in to be the CEO of this company, and their love for gaming is nowhere near the level of like the developers that are working on the game. So instead of like hiring up and taking someone who loves the game, knows the lore, knows what fans want, are very connected to the community, and giving them the ability to have creative control or or even to the point where they may step into the shoes of like CEO or something of a company like or of a franchise like Halo, they end up like they don't do that. They just get someone who's got a track record of being a good CEO, which then means that they don't make decisions based on the love of the game. They make decisions based on what they've done elsewhere, and what they've done elsewhere works because it's sort of consumer driven stuff, right? But with this, maybe it's much more of a, you have to really respect the love that people have for these franchises and stories, because they're not products to a lot of people like that. And I think that's the bit that they get confused with and let themselves down with, is the leadership is bad, or potentially bad, because they just don't, they view it as a product. They view a game as a product. They don't view a game as a story or a escape or a form of therapy or any of the things that people have, like any of the reasons that people have become attached to those franchises and stories and characters. They just view it as a new game, new product, just like a film that's coming out. View it as a standalone thing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's where some of it falls down when it comes to bad leadership decisions, perhaps.
Yeah, I just want to put it in perspective, just how little people are playing Halo Infinite, and it's really sad to see. If you look at Warzone 2, Modern Warfare 2, average players in the last 30 days is 111,000. This is on Steam charts, so this is PC only. So there's 113,000 people played Warzone 2 or Modern Warfare 2 in the last 30 days. If you look at Cyberpunk, that's 28,000 in the last 30 days, and that's a game that was panned as people not being able to play it and all that kind of stuff. Halo Infinite, the last 30 days, under 4,000 players.
What?
That's
so much
Steam
lower
chart.
than what I thought it was going to be.
In November, when it launched, it had 102,000 average players. It peaked at 256,000.
Oh my god, that's so bad.
That's not a viable business, is it?
No. To put that into perspective, Apex Legends currently, right now, has 263,000 people playing it, which is more than the peak of Halo Infinite.
What?
According to SteamCharts.com.
That's insane.
So that's just that just puts it in perspective just how bad a state Halo is in. And when I say it cannot get any worse, it literally cannot get any worse. Because
why are they not just trying a battle royale?
It'd
They
be
literally have
interesting to
nothing
know
to lose.
something.
It would be interesting to know what the numbers would be like because obviously Halo's an Xbox title, so there's probably a lot more people playing it on Xbox.
That's true.
Than PC. So it would.
I
be
think a lot of
interesting to see what those
Xbox
numbers are.
players or just console players in general did transition to PC over like sort of the pandemic though. I know there are still a lot of Xbox players out there. But
there
Halo
are a
is
lot of people that
an
are,
Xbox
that are
title,
still
but
console. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it'd be interesting. But
Yeah.
I feel like most people that play FPS, sort of multiplayer or battle royale games, kind of move to PC at some point.
Yeah.
Because it's just a better experience, and there's obviously people that either can't afford it or they don't like PCs or whatever their reasons are, but generally speaking, I think if I had enough money for an Xbox and I was really into a game and I knew that I could get a better experience, more frames, more this, then I'd probably look into like getting a PC next. So yeah, maybe, but it would be interesting to know what the numbers would be for Xbox players and PC players like combined.
Skyrifter again. It only took Epic Games 2 months to convert Fortnite to Battle Royale. What does 343 have to lose by trying it? Yeah, exactly what we're saying. Just give the fans something to be excited about, I think. She also said there's more fans, so more money. No need to make good stuff anymore. Yeah, I think that just summarises the point. It's just that kind of complacency. But I suppose it'll only kind of have an effect if people, decide with their wallets. not to buy certain games, but we shall see. Onto a game which before yesterday I don't think Matt knew about, but we've learned a lot about it over the last day or so. The day before has been delayed because of trademark issues. Now there's a lot of controversy around this game. Many people are convinced that it doesn't exist. Because at the moment, the day before is basically an MMO where you're tasked with surviving a zombie apocalypse, and it's supposedly an open world game. And there's one short trailer that's been released so far, which has got a little bit of gameplay in it, but it looks quite polished for what it is, and it looks like one of those trailers that should say not actual gameplay on it. It's one of those type of trailers. It was due for release in early this year. But the developers, Fantastic, released a statement, and I'm going to read some of it now because it's interesting. Dear fans, Steam blocked our game page at the request of a private individual because of the name the day before. As you know, our game was announced in January 2021. At the time of the announcement, the day before game trademark was available. After the announcement of the game, the above-mentioned individual filed out an application before us to register the game trademark in the United States. They go on to say that this is a really interesting line. We find out all the circumstances of the incident, and we will definitely solve everything. We had previously planned to post a lengthy gameplay trailer video later this month, but we'll have to sort this issue out first. We will post a video ASAP. We've made the difficult decision to postpone the launch to November the 10th, 2023. We understand this may disappoint many of our fans. However, we want to ensure we release the best possible game. So a few things there. So that they're blaming the trademark for not being able to release the game. They're also blaming that on not being able to release a trailer. But then they're also saying that they're delaying it because they want to ensure the release of the best possible game.
Yeah, it's so weird.
One, why aren't you trademarking your game before you announce it?
That's what I want to know.
What are you?
How can you announce your game to the public with the name and not have the name trademarked and not expect any issues to arise?
Yeah. Secondly, if there's issues with the name, change the name of the game. If you haven't got the trademark, change the name of the game. It's a new IP. Change the name of the game. Just release it if it's ready. But it seems like it seems this it's full of contradictions. It's a little bit shady. People don't know what's going on. We haven't got a gameplay video.
I checked out their YouTube channel earlier.
Oh yeah,
and there's a video on there which is like a kind of inside look at the developers' offices. Fantastic.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't it? It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just two guys, and they're just like on laptops in various different, like on a hill, laptops on a hill, then in a coffee shop. They're like, and it's just so weird, man. It's like we work from anywhere. It just appears very much like there's only two people making this game. Like it's like there's nothing about their offices, nothing about like you never get introduced to more people. It's just like these two guys that are just on laptops coding. Like that's all the footage is. So that feels odd.
We know nothing about this game. We don't know how it works, who the characters are. We've seen a very short gameplay trailer.
What I find confusing is they say that they previously planned to post a lengthy gameplay video later this month, but we'll have to sort this issue out first. We'll post a video ASAP. If they're going to post a video, why does this issue interfere with them posting a video? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, because they've still got like their Twitter, which is the day
if
before.
the game is made, then they can just play the game, record the gameplay footage, and then post that. If the game is finished, and even if the issue is that the name is copyrighted, just don't post the name in this footage that you're supposedly going to post.
Or just edit the video to change the name.
Could it be
it
a
doesn't make
shill?
sense.
Like could it be fake?
Well, they're not taking pre-orders, so I don't know what the benefit is behind them faking it,
making a game. Yeah,
because they're not taking pre-orders, so they're not making any money. It's literally just like
game,
for a prank. They have another game out, which on their website says is the best-selling game on Steam, which is a game
Okay.
called Prop Night, which has mixed reviews on Steam.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And literally on the website, it says the top selling game on Steam. Like, there's no quotes, there's no source where that information came from. It just says that, and then it links to the Steam page.
Well, you can like check that, and it probably is not.
That game released on the 1st of December 2021. It has 12,000 mixed reviews.
Right, okay. This company
and it's
also
just a
got in
horror
hot
game.
water a while ago for trying to. I'm going to get this wrong, so I'm going to paraphrase it. But they were encouraging volunteer developers to contribute to the development of this game, which is also very shady because you're not paying people to do actual work, which is not right.
Yeah.
So everything about it feels shady. Do we think it's real?
I don't know.
man. Like
They've made a
like-
video on the culture of volunteering. It's just so weird. They're a game development company, and they have a whole video about
Man,
the
I feel
culture
like
of volunteering.
It feels fishy, and normally when there's smoke, there's fire. Like, and I just don't know.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe that's what the shill is. They're trying to steal all of this like volunteer development material that they're getting, and they're going to use it for
Maybe.
something else. Or I don't know why they would be doing this. Like, why would they go through all the effort to fake all of this stuff?
it's just weird. Like,
What are they
unless
getting
there's-
out of it?
Unless there's something going on underneath the surface that like we're not all seeing, or unless it's just a couple of guys that really don't know what they're doing. Like, and this is like their second sort of dip into making a game, and they're trying to make it. They've bitten off more than they can chew,
Yeah.
and they feel a bit embarrassed for giving the game's just not ready. We don't know what we're doing, so they're like trying to come up with these excuses why
Yeah,
it's
but
not
why
their
wouldn't
fault.
they just say
But-
that? Why wouldn't they just
but-
say, yeah, we're trying and we can't figure it out. We're sorry, it's just two of us.
Yeah. And
Loads
they've
of devs
yeah.
companies have said that before.
Yeah.
They said, we've
And
got
they've,
this
they've
time, we can't do
also
it.
they've also posted a link. They've linked the person's trademark request in the tweet.
Yeah, that's
so
weird.
you can actually click on the link and it will take you to the trademark itself with the person's name who's trademarked it.
That's weird.
Which is weird. Big Fry, YouTuber, left a reply which is hilarious. They said, "Are your lawyers volunteers too?" Which I thought was fantastic. All the developers working there, I hope they're okay. I hope they've got good working conditions and they're not stressing out about it. But from what it looks like, it just doesn't look good at all. And I was actually looking forward to it, looking forward to seeing the game, seeing more about it, because it looks like a great idea. But let's see what happens. Lewis just did a hands on his face emoji. Thanks, Lewis. Hiya. Skyver said maybe they're trying to show investors hype for this game so they can start developing it properly.
That's
Yeah.
true. That could be something.
Like, see how many likes we've got on this tweet. Look how much money we need to.
Well, if
develop
it's
it.
got a lot of
Yeah,
hype
like,
around
there's
it,
a
if they
lot
do
of
like a
interest.
gameplay video and it gets loads of views, they could be like, yeah, look.
True.
And then I feel like maybe their plan is to sort of take investment money and run. I don't know. Because they have to
don't
come
know.
out with a game
Big.
eventually, right? They have, if they've done all of this.
Not really.
No,
They don't have
they
to
could
do
just say
anything.
it didn't work. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But they're claiming now that the game is
strange.
almost finished, that it was going to come out.
Did they say that?
Yeah,
Well-
it was due to come out in.
Sort of around
Yeah,
now.
it would.
Like,
Yeah,
around
true.
now, wasn't
That's
it?
true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And
So
they
if
haven't
it's-
said otherwise, ever. So the
And
game...
they've just said, "Oh, someone trademarked the name, so we can't release it. So we're going
Yeah.
to release it in November."
Why would you not trademark your own game before you started developing it?
Well,
How
what
much
if-
money does it
What
cost?
if this
to
is crazy?
trademark?
This is crazy. But what if they set up a company?
Here we
Right.
go.
They set up a company, said that they were building a game called the day
The
before.
day before.
Then they trademarked the name against themselves before they did, so that the company can then buy the trademark name for a lot of money, and then they get the money, and then they just do a runner.
I think they're the whole company.
I'm
brain's
just
saying, I don't
spitballing
know.
it.
No,
I
I
don't know.
think the two guys that are working on this game, the supposed two guys that are on the team, are the whole fantastic company.
That's
so I
what
don't...
I'm saying.
Nah, there's gotta be more
No, but then they
people.
can't troll the company and like take money.
No.
from the company.
They're doing it. It's all like they did it with this intention from the start. They're gonna build hype around a game. They're gonna copyright the name so that their company can't use it. But they know that, and then they're gonna sell it to themselves so that the company spends lots of money from
No,
investors.
but I don't.
Or
I don't think they have a company. Is what I'm saying. I don't think they have a company. I think the whole team is there.
Yeah, but they've got. I mean, it depends if that Fantastic is like branded. Like
I don't
is,
think
like,
it
a
is. That's what I'm
registered
saying. I
company.
think it's just a little
Maybe we
studio
have
that
to
they've
dig-
made themselves. If
Maybe
their
we have to
office
dig
tours
deeper.
was a hill, Matt, I don't think that they are.
No,
a
I
very
think
big
we're going
company.
into this very deeply. So I think we better move on.
Okay.
Because we've got no evidence to substantiate any of the
No,
things we're talking
I'm
about.
just
Um,
He's
So-
spitballing theories.
Yeah,
all
we're just putting our our honestly held opinions out there for what we think could be happening. But what is for certain is that it will be delayed until November, according to Fantastic. So we'll have to wait until then to play the game, and maybe we'll get a trailer before. Hopefully, we will. Anyway, what will definitely be happening, to move on to our next topic, is Warzone 2 Season 2. We talked about how it's been delayed last week to February 15th. Since then, Infinity Ward and Raven Software have been teasing a couple of changes that are going to be happening to Warzone 2 for Season 2, which is what a lot of people have been talking about for the game. So there's going to be more money around Al Mazrah. There's going to be buy station prices reduced. The Gulag will be going from 2v2 to 1v1, which is what a lot of players are wanting to see. There's also changed the looting system, so the backpack will change slightly when you eliminate a player. Instead of how you having to go into the backpack to get the guns, they'll spill all on the floor and you can pick up whatever you want. So there's a few things kind of change in there. Matt, if those changes were implemented, would that make you want to play it more, do you think?
Well, I think I think the first thing that I don't like is that they're calling them changes when, well, I guess that technically they are because it's a new game, but they're basically just re-implementing how Warzone 1 worked. So they're just putting it back to how we all said we liked it in the first place. So they're not like exciting changes. They're not like, it's not like, oh, this change is going to change the way we play the game. It's just what we all wanted for a long time and what the community was saying by the majority for a long time. And it just seems that they're putting all of it back because they're at a point where they're losing players. If they bring in a resurgence map and the mechanics, sort of like the looting systems and the cost of loadouts and the loadout system and stuff sort of all becomes more familiar again, then I'm much more likely to try it out and play it and sort of try the new resurgence map out and stuff. But honestly, sometimes, some days, I think it's too far gone now. But I kind of, in the back of my head, I'm waiting for them to sort of do something that makes me want to at least try it and see if I enjoy it again. But yeah, I don't like the whole thing of like we're bringing these exciting changes. It's not. You're just putting it back to what we all like.
But don't we have to kind of applaud them also for going back? Because, at least they've held their hands up and they're listening to the community about what they want and they're
But I
implementing.
feel like that's the bare minimum.
Nah.
Yeah, I
don't
suppose.
think you can
But if you look at Halo Infinite, though, what that's done, they've not really listened to player feedback, and that's happened. At least they've gone, okay, look, you want this, we'll implement it for you to give you a better experience. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, but I feel like it's kind of like they already sort of had their chance and they didn't listen and then I know it's only February now. Well, it's not. It's January at the moment, but we're coming into February. But it felt like the community have been screaming at them for so long. And when they're like 2v2 Gulag, look at how cool this is, and everyone's like, no, nobody wants that. No, stop it. No, and they just still did it. and went, just see how it feels. And we all went, we've tried it, no, and now they're changing it. It just feels like it's too late. Like in a sense, it doesn't mean. I don't think it's like necessarily too late for me to if they bring back 1v1 gulags and bring in a resurgence map. But it's kind of like, why didn't they release it with a resurgence map? Why did they make the looting so clunky? It's because I feel like they were hedging their bets on Tarkov was like the next big thing, and they had to capitalize on that. And so they built everything around this Tarkov style play, but it doesn't work for Battle Royale Warzone or Resurgence Warzone or anything like that. So it's too clunky and it takes too long, and it's not like Warzone is not Tarkov. So you can't like kind of put more sort of DMZ style looting systems into a game and then expect people to be like, oh, this is great. It just doesn't fit. It's obvious that people won't like it because it doesn't suit the style of the game that you've released.
Yeah,
you know, you can have that looting system in a DMZ mode, I think, but in terms of the actual battle royale, it just becomes laborious and just annoying, and I feel like too much time has passed with no change, and they didn't listen in the first place.
Yeah. Well, it's just a flip flopping for me.
It
like,
feels scared.
Loadouts
Loadouts
weren't in before, and then
Yeah.
just before launch day, oh, we've added it back in based on community feedback. Okay, that sounds like, you know, really strong decision making skills. And then we're going to release player stats. Oh, we're not going to release player stats anymore. Okay. You know, that's such a basic thing that, you know, we should seems like we should have. Seems like a very basic thing. Be able to track how many wins you've got and things. I don't know why, you know, that kind of experience for me is a bit frustrating as a Warzone 2 player. Skyrift to say COD and Tarkov communities are so different. I don't know why they thought people would like it. Yeah, I think that's exactly the point Matt's trying to make. I'm prepared to give it another chance. I still kind of enjoy it because I play with my friends. It's a social thing, but I do sense the frustrations there with some of the, you know, mechanics and things not working as they should, and you know, the 2v2 gulag is stupid.
It's
no other
so
way.
silly.
Yeah,
It's so silly. Like, I just don't understand why they ever thought that was gonna work. Like, when they started working on it, and did they not do any market research on why people think the gulag is either good or bad? Like, the one thing that the one purpose the gulag served was it's 50-50, and everything is the same for each individual person.
Yeah.
And it's just about who's better. And they just completely took that away.
Yeah.
That's the one thing people liked or disliked about the gulag, but I think more on the whole, more people liked it. And that just doesn't sit well with me that they would just completely ignore those people, like the community, or all of those people that are screaming at them like, we don't want it. They'd still implement it, and then they would have to revert back, because of course they were always going to have to revert back, because if they wanted to keep people. And it just blows my mind. Comes back to that whole like decision making, like poor leadership, decision making. Like, it just feels like a decision that's made by somebody that does not understand the community or the game.
Yeah, it just feels like the developers, the people playing the game, they know what's best, but it just seems like the opposite happens with every update, which is, yeah, it's really frustrating as a Warzone 2 player, and it's frustrating to see, like, you know, when you're loading into a game and it takes ages, and you think, oh, there's not many people playing this. It just kind of takes a bit something away, the hype from it, really, which is a shame. But Jasmine, I don't think you've tried Warzone 2 yet, have you? What's your take on it from the outside in?
I've literally just heard so much negative stuff that makes me not want to try it. Not even just from you guys, just everyone. Everyone always talks so bad about it. They're like, yeah, it's really bad. It's got all of these issues. AI will literally
No, it's fantastic.
drill you down. I don't. Why would I play it over playing like Fortnite? If I don't know. I don't really feel like.
I think when you've
would give it a
loved
go.
something so much, it's very hard to stay positive about it when you're watching it being systematically sort of like stripped away from everything that made it what it was and what it was, and how like all the magic of it. It just feels like everything is getting stripped away slowly, and the worst thing they did was release a like Warzone 2 when they did. Like just the worst. It's the worst possible thing they could do. They didn't. They just announced they were making it. There was no one. Well, at least it felt like there was no like investigation into whether or not the community really wanted a brand new game, if they wanted completely different mechanics, if they wanted, what did the community want that would make them play it? What was wrong with Warzone 1 that they needed fixed? And we were all telling everyone every day what was wrong with Warzone 1. And they just completely didn't listen to any of that, threw the book out the window and just started again and guessed off the back of nostalgia, off the back of trying to like recreate Modern Warfare 2. And that is just such... Immediately when they did that, I remember we had a conversation about it, and immediately I was like, this is either going to be very good or they're just banking on nostalgia and it's going to just fall flat on its face. And I kind of feel like what I was originally saying was it was laziness. The naming was laziness. The game was lazy, even in a sense of the fact that they just tried to recreate like the old movement and the old mechanics and stuff without like trying to be innovative with it. This is at least like my take on that. I don't want to... I know some people really, really enjoy the game, and the game is still enjoyable. The map is brilliant. Like, there's certain things they got really, really right with Warzone 2, but they just got the absolute fundamentals so completely wrong that it's just been hemorrhaging players since its launch. And that's quite an achievement over the course of from November. When was it released? November. Or was that Modern Warfare? No, that was October. Yeah, from November to now, we're not even at the end of January, and the 18th of November, I think it was, and it
already feel like it's been out for ages.
Yeah, it feels old. It feels like, because it's boring. Like that. Like what they've done is they've taken all the magic away, and now it feels boring really quickly. Yeah. Just like every other battle royale that you try and play. That's really like for me what it comes down to, and I think for me it's less about how good the game is, and it's more about how much I trust the studios and the people making the decisions, because I just don't trust them enough to think that if I start playing this game again in 6 months they're going to ruin it again. Like that's just what that's just how I kind of feel about the whole thing. So it's going to take a lot to get, I think, a lot of people that have dipped away from it to come back and actually engage with it fully and commit to it again.
Well, let's see what happens on February the 15th. But from one battle royale to another, I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Jasmine. Well-known Fortnite leaker Fort Tory has taken to Twitter to share the news that a temporary sound file linked to a point of interest POI on the latest map is called Tilted Towers has been found within the game's code, suggesting the popular location could return at some point in the near future. This is obviously an iconic location in Fortnite, and it was destroyed at the end of Chapter 3 along with the rest of the map. How do you feel about that? Are you getting a bit of nostalgia from that, or is it a good decision? Is it bad? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think I can acknowledge why everyone thinks that it would be amazing to have Tilted Towers back, but me personally, I don't want it back. And I feel like that's a very...
Why not?
naughty thing to say. I feel like that's not.
See?
But it's like I hate Tilted Towers. It was at this point in the map, right in the very middle, where no matter where the plane was flying, or the bus even, no matter where the bus was flying over the map, you could always get to Tilted Towers really easily. So it was always really, really busy when you first land. You'd get like there'd be 100 players in a game, and you get 50 of them all in Tilted Towers. And it was just like a massacre at the start of the game. The first minute was like the scariest minute of your life. And it was horrid. And then whoever won Tilted Towers, it was like a saying. It was like, oh guys, we won Tilted Towers. We killed everyone. It's just us. Would obviously be the most sweaty players. So then, even if you didn't land in Tilted Towers, you'd then have to spend the rest of the game avoiding Tilted Towers, because whoever won Tilted Towers would be sitting there like camping and waiting. And whenever I had to go through Tilted Towers, like if the zone was coming in and I had to get past Tilted Towers, it would always be, okay guys, we need to find a way to go around Tilted Towers because we can't go through it, because that's how scary it is. So I don't want it to come back, because I feel like right now, the new map, there's not really a zone like that in the game. Like with the map before Tilted Towers, it was like Lazy Lake or Pleasant Park that had that same feeling of like you can't go through it. You have to win the area because they're so busy and they're so popular. And there's not really a place like that on the map now, so it makes the game feel a bit more like, okay, no matter where you land, you're okay. You don't have to panic for the first 10 minutes, and then your keyboard gets all sweaty because you're literally freaking out so much. So I feel like right now the map is in a nice state, and I know that a lot of players disagree because there's no like iconic places like Pleasant Park, like Tilted Towers, but I just don't want it to come back. I like the way the map is now. I like that you can land anywhere and be fine, and you don't have to like fight half of the game in the first minute. I like it like that. But some people don't. Some people want that massacre at the beginning. I don't know why.
Some people want that hot drop. They want
no,
it.
I hate it. I hate it. It's horrid.
Nathan likes a hot drop. It sounds a lot like Peak in Warzone 1.
Yeah.
In Caldera.
And
Sounds
Observatory as well in Warzone 2.
I used to get like nervous sweats on when I had to play it with you. Had to play it with you. I think you had to play it with me, really. Because I would be like, oh, he's gonna want to drop Peak. He's gonna want to, and so if it's like that, if Tilted Towers is like that, then yeah, I feel your pain a little bit there, Jasmine.
I used to be like that with the old map, which is where we had Pleasant Park, and no matter where the bus was, where the Pleasant Park was on the opposite side, I would always, every single game, as soon as we loaded in, I wouldn't say anything, I'd just mark Pleasant Park. And then my squad would be like, are we really going to Pleasant Park again? I'm like, yeah, we have to. Every game, it was like without saying. And I think because on that map, there were 2 hot drops, that it was kind of divided between the 2. But when there's Tilted Towers on the map, there's only 1 single hot drop. It's horrid. It's scary.
Yeah. I quite like hot drop. I think it sharpens your reflexes a bit. Because I feel like in a battle royale, sometimes what you can do is you can load into like you can drop into a really, no one's in there, the area. You can like carry on looting, like get all your stuff ready, and you can kind of lull yourself into a full sense of security in terms of like building up to it. And then I feel personally that I get caught off guard by that, because I'll get an enemy and I don't feel as sharp. Whereas if I drop into an area loads of people, I know it's on. It's on. I need to be at my best. And if I get out
what if you land and you don't find a gun, or you don't find any?
You
I
do,
don't,
though.
like,
You do.
But what if you don't? You know how many times I've landed into a hot drop and like I'm like landing to pick up a specific gun on the top of like a building on Tilted Towers, and someone else is going for the same gun. They pick it up first, then I have to just start swinging at them with my pickaxe.
It's a risk. Yeah, it is a risk, but I feel like it's a risk worth taking sometimes. But it depends on people's play styles, People have different styles. Shabana said Tilted Towers ? New default drop spot. I think she's
that says Sky Rifter, not Shabana.
Oh, sorry, Sky Rifter. But yeah, sorry about that. Lewis also said, what are all of your favourite maps, locations of all time? Any games, not just Fortnite. I'm tempted to say Verdansk just because it was just so iconic during lockdown and stuff. But
is that Warzone?
Yeah, Warzone, in the original Warzone. Jasmine, I guess for you, Tilted Towers. Obviously, we just spoke about it.
No thanks. I would say Pleasant Park though. If they brought Pleasant Park back, it'd be my new like default drop. I like whoever I'm playing with wouldn't even have to ask where we're going.
Pleasant Park.
Pleasant Park.
That sounds really nice. It sounds like you
It's
take
nice.
your dog for a
I think
walk.
this is one thing in Fortnite is that like I'm guessing it's the same in Warzone. Is that there's lots of different like levels and you kind of have to get to high ground to have an advantage.
Yeah.
So in Tilted Towers, they've obviously got the massive towers where if you're not at the top, you're at a bit of a disadvantage. Whereas Pleasant Park is a hot drop that's all flat because it's just normal 2-story houses.
Right.
So you can still get that hot drop without being scared that someone's going to snipe you from like 20 stories up. So I think that's why I prefer it over like Tilted Towers, or even Lazy Lake had the same sort of tower effect where if someone's got the high ground, you automatically lose. There's not really like counterplay.
Yeah. Do they have other locations that aren't like alliteration?
I think all of their places are alliteration.
Is it that's just the thing?
I think
happens?
that's the thing of Fortnite. Yeah.
I think I've exposed myself as not a major Fortnite player because I only play now and again. But
did you not know that?
Sorry.
It's all alliteration.
I just figured it out now, to be honest.
Yeah, it's all alliteration.
Okay, that's interesting. Tilted Towers, Pleasant Park, Lazy what? Lazy Lake.
Lazy Lake. Yeah.
I suppose it's easy to make up like things.
But that's why they do it. It makes it seem more like iconic. You'll remember
Yeah.
Pleasant Park now in your head because it's easier to say.
I suppose. What would you have you got one off the top of your head that you wish they should add?
I couldn't think of one off the
Like
top of my head. No.
Happy Hills or
Happy
something like that,
Hills. I feel like that could be a good one. Should I pitch that?
yeah, go on.
Quickly need to get on the phone to Epic Games.
Yeah, if Epic Games are listening, you can have that one for free. Just give me a credit. Put me on the credits, and I'll.
They had a place called Homely Hills.
Oh, that's
Oh, well,
rubbish.
there you
Mine's
go then.
better. Mine's better than Happy
Hills.
yeah. Or Gamers Gate would be good.
Gamers Gate. I feel like that would be like a really iconic place that'd have loads of loot or something.
Absolutely.
That'd be a hot drop if that was in the game. That'd be like
Yeah.
everyone would be there to be the. We need to win Gamers Gate.
Gamers Gate. Let's drop into it. Yeah, Epic. If you're watching, I am available for pitches. Just send me an email. No, I mean, thank you so much for joining me, guys. It's been really great to hang out with you for this hour and a half, and thank you to everyone who's been listening and watching on all various platforms: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok as well. Hello, TikTok. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week at the same time. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and yeah, we'll see you soon.